communal areas have not so. In fact, by the time I was in med school, up until when I left University of Port Harcourt, there were so many cases of patients, particularly in the pediatric wards, who couldn't pay their bills. There were also stories, there were also cases of the nurses and the doctors who would contribute to take care of a particular child. But maybe the case is very peculiar. In fact, there was one particular child who was being sent to school right from the hospital at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. If I can't remember the child's name, but if there's a nurse or a doctor who has been in the hospital for more than 12 years, they'll probably verify this story. But it's not the first time. People have run away. There was a case of a man who ran away, leaving his wife and the babies because they were planning for one. The woman now did what God said, multiply, and there were 4 in her tummy, quadruplets. The man couldn't pay. He ran away. The babies and the mother were kept at the hospital. In a sense, some would even say maybe it's even kidnapping. But do you blame the hospitals? They need money to provide these same services for the next person who's going to come through. And unfortunately, it's not charity. Unfortunately, it's not an NGO. Unfortunately, the services, both of the nurses, the doctors, the cleaners, the lab tech, the x-ray person, all of these things have to be paid for. So what do the hospitals do? That is my question for you this morning. How should they get their money from patients? What actions should they take?
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeria Info FM. Nigeria Info, let's talk.
Jude on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
017-923-0002, 0817923-0003. At Nigeria Info PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X. And our WhatsApp is 916. A quick take this call. A minute here.
Yeah, good morning, Jude.
Good morning, please.
John, with that from Nkoro.
All right, go.
You know why God keep pregnancy for 9 months? It's for the man to prepare so that he will not go and disturb any other person. If God wants a woman to deliver in 1 month, God will do that. But God keep the pregnancy for 9 months. So that the man will be able to prepare so that he will not go and worry people. So that's why God keep pregnant for 9 months. So we will not blame the hospital or blame another person. We blame the man and the family.
But Dan, you do know that sometimes some people, they plan for one child, they didn't go and check the scan because they're in the village. But then the pregnancy comes to term and it's triplets. What do you want them to do?
No matter the triplets, if God give you triplets, the one you're ready for 1 month, you use that money to beg them.
Okay, you use that money to beg them. Walter, good morning to you. Walter, we're going on a break. Can you call us back after the break, please? Please.
There's no issue.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go on that break, please.
The show continues after this break. Nigeria
back. 92.3 Nigeria Info, 9:29 a.m. Getting close to here. Our first conversation on Hello Port Harcourt this morning is about medical bills. I know that you did have a similar conversation last week, but following the recent report by the River State government under the Commissioner of Health, I have to ask this question because, like I said, it's not new. We've had so many cases both here in River State, in Edo State, where I grew up in, also in Lagos State. I've had the good pleasure of also spending time in Delta State, visit parts of the north, and almost every hospital I've been to, almost every government hospital at some point I've been to these states has had somebody who was in debt, whose mother probably had a surgery or a father had something to do that they didn't have the money to pay for, dialysis or whatnot. The person is healing, the person is recuperating. However, the hospital is afraid to let this person go because they haven't paid for the services that the hospital has rendered. The family is trying to raise the money. The family have their details with the hospital, but the hospital is not in the business. The hospitals generally are not debt reclamation agencies, but they need the money, unfortunately, to put on their generators for the diesels. They need to buy diesels for their generators. They also need to pay the ground staff. They also need to pay the doctors, in particular, the very big specialists that did the surgery for you and your wife. That man or woman has to be paid because that man or woman also has a family to cater to and for. It's a bit of a quagmire. But anyway, I'd like to hear from you. A lot of people were giving this hospital a lot of stick, a lot of flack. Why are you keeping this woman, a 13-month-old? That means the child has not really even spent time with the family. The grandmothers probably haven't come. People haven't lifted the baby to say, oh, welcome our lovely child. The child since birth has, in a sense, been a source of pain and burden to the immediate family. But is it really the man's fault? My first caller says you had 9 months to prepare. But let's be honest. Sometimes, no matter how much you prepare for the birth of a child, the complications that may arise from that birth may be way out of your financial ability. As I speak to you, I have a friend who is in Lagos right now. You know why? Because his child needs a special surgery. The child has done 2 surgeries. You know how much those things cost? Nearly 3 billion naira. But when they were preparing for the birth of a child, he had everything. Everything. Diapers, mat, everything. The birthing was great. But after the baby was born, complications arose. So how should hospitals go about getting the fees for their services? Since a lot of us now are very incensed, we don't want to have a situation where mother and child, or maybe a senior citizen, somebody's grandfather, is now being kept in the hospital. Meanwhile, that stay in the hospital, he's being fed, and the bills will keep on accruing. So what is the way out? Yes, on one hand, I can tell you, maybe a lot of us Nigerians should need to start to get, our insurance done. Get health insurance. Do something. But let's be honest. How many people can afford the insurance that can help bail them out when it really does matter? Let's have a conversation.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeria Info FM. Nigeria Info, let's talk.
With Jude on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
017-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. At Nigeria Info PH, is where you find us on Facebook and X. the WhatsApp number, where you can also send your regular SMSs. I have the tab in front of me. I can read your text messages today. Is 0809 030 6416. 0809 030 6416. Charity is on the line. Let's get to say hello to Charity, who is speaking to us from Iguta. Charity, welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Jude.
Good morning.
Yes, the story is a very pathetic one. But the truth of the matter is that the insurance scheme is really something that everybody must try and get. Because that is the only way that when somebody runs into this kind of huge medical bill, at least you're sure you can be able to navigate through it and come out. And if there are balances for you to pay, then at least you will be at home and be paying the balances. So I think, to me, the only way out is if the government can really be able to enlighten us more on the goodness of this insurance scheme. It will really go a long way, because nobody really plans for disaster.